Okay, Grant. Well, I've got about 1 minute after by my clock on the computer, so I guess why don't we go ahead and get started, and those that may join later can certainly join in as they're able to.
That sounds great. I want to thank everyone for taking their time out of their busy schedule to take a moment and attend this webinar on the SACS Investigator. The SACS Investigator is our integrated background check solution that we offer. Proud to have Jerry Nielsen from TruDiligence join us today and help us and teach everyone a little bit about what all that you can do in the SACS Investigator. And we're going to go ahead and talk about what we're going to go over today about, what SACS Investigator is, what the integration means, and the streamlined processes. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jerry so he can dive a little deeper into this.
Awesome, great. Thanks, Grant, for the welcome. So again, for everybody who's joined today, thank you for taking time out of your day to join us today to learn a little bit more about the SACS Investigator. Just a couple of housekeeping things I'll mention to those that didn't hear it earlier that just joined us. There is a chat control within your Zoom control panel in the chat window, and that has an active chat thread that is running. So if you click on the chat button, you'll be able to view the active chat thread that is running in the background. Feel free to join in on the chat if you feel like you'd like to. We'll also use that chat mechanism as the means to have you ask any questions throughout the webinar today. Grant and I will both do our best to try to keep our eye on that chat thread, and he will endeavor to answer any questions that we see pop up there throughout the course of the presentation. So use that chat control as you would like. So I think today we'll start with just a real quick overview of what the SACS Investigator is and what that means when we use the term integrated. It was about 10 years ago that we created the relationship and the partnership with SACS and built out the SACS Investigator Module. And it is integrated, meaning that the SACS software has built a bridge into our TruDiligence processing system for background check processing. And just to break that down very simply, what it means is that you are able to manage and interface with TruDiligence on your background check needs directly from within the SACS software. And so all of the ordering and triggering of background checks when you have need on your member entries, as well as getting your results back, all happens within the SACS software within the Investigator module. And so it eliminates manual data entry in terms of placing orders. It eliminates having to go to the TruDiligence website the way a traditional non-integrated client would in order to get their results back. And it really just overall, it will streamline your processes by making use of a vendor that is integrated into the SACS application. With regard to TruDiligence, and just a little bit really quick for those that might not be familiar with who we are a background check company that is based on the outskirts of Denver, Colorado, and we have been operating for right at 28 years. We started in December of '93 doing background checks, and we are performing background check services for a wide variety of clients across the country and actually around the globe. And we offer both employment screening background checks as well as tenant screening background checks for all of our users across the diverse client base. We are nationally accredited by the Professional Background Screeners Association, which is a badge rather that we're very proud of. It's a difficult accreditation to get. It holds us to very high standards in our processes and in our security mechanisms and in our quality control mechanisms. And so that is a badge that we are certainly proud of. With regard to Just really quickly touching on with regard to what it looks like to get an account, we have a simple web form that we would provide to you, a link to a web form where you would fill out should you decide to partner up with TruDiligence for your background check needs. We have a simple web form that we'll make available to you, and you would then create an account for free on that sign up page. And there are no contracts, there are no sign-up fees, there are no monthly minimums, there are no long-term obligations. You simply create an account with us. We give you a credential to be able to access the system once your account is approved, and you then would use that credential that you are issued, and you would save that credential within your SACS software profile for each user that needs to be able to access the SACS Investigator. And I'll touch on that maybe just a little bit deeper here in a little bit when we actually get into the system. So that is, a little bit about us. I'll hold off on the product offerings that's on our agenda until we actually get into the system, and I'll talk a little bit more about product offerings once we get in there. And so what we're going to do at this point is go ahead and begin basically a formal demonstration of the SACS Investigator module. And Grant is going to drive us a little bit, and I'll let him chime in here in just a minute, but he's sharing his screen and has his SACS application obviously opened up and is on the background check control within this sample member. And so I'll let Grant jump in here for just a second and tell you just a little bit about that interface and how we actually get that initiated.
Okay, great. So you all are familiar with the application screen. And so within the application screen on the members tab where all the members are housed, this is where you will have a background check tab. And this is where you'll actually click the request background check button to start the process. Once you have signed up with TruDiligence, they're going to provide you with some information that will get plugged into the user setup screen. Once that's all done, it's a very easy process. Once that's done, you will be ready to start this process. So in this example, I've got the head of house. I've got this member screen pulled up here on the background check tab, and I'm going to click the request background check button. And this is going to launch a screen that's going to take you directly interfacing with the TruDiligence system. And at this stage, you're going to have the ability to select what package and to start beginning your background check selection process. And I'm going to go ahead and let Jerry talk a little bit more about that.
Great. So again, one more point of clarification there. It came up as a question in the previous version of this webinar, is that you, as the SACS administrator, the SACS site administrator, you do have the ability to control which of your internal housing employees have access to this functionality. Again, the credential that Grant mentioned that is issued by TruDiligence is required for each user that needs to access this functionality. And so you have complete security control within the SACS software to determine who can access the background check system, who can view the reports, and who can make orders by whether or not you place that credential into that user setup within SACS. So you do have that granular level of control within your users. Really quick, I'm going to pause for just a second and give a real quick welcome to the few people that have joined in just the last few minutes. Thank you again for joining us today. We're just getting started. I'll mention to you that there is a chat window available within the Zoom control panel in your window, and we are going to use that chat mechanism throughout the webinar today to address any questions that you may have, because everybody is muted on the webinar today except for Grant and I. So should you have any questions throughout this process, please just make use of that chat control and put your question in the chat box, and we will endeavor to keep an eye on that and answer any questions that you may have. So again, welcome and thank you for joining us. Okay, so I am going to request control, Grant. So if you'll give me control, thank you. So by initiating the background check within the SACS application, as Grant touched on, what it's done is it's brought us to the entry screen for the actual SACS Investigator server. And what we do here is we start with a packages and products drop down. And so one of the beautiful things that current users of the Investigator like is we have the ability to customize the system at a fairly granular level. We can set up packages and products unique to your account should you have products or packages or bundles of services that you know that you want to run on every household member. And so what we have here on this demo account is just some sample packages. Those packages can be called anything you would like to call them, and they can include any combination of services that you would want to have included in that package. And so should you have need for that level of customization, we would just have you communicate that to us, obviously, through your onboarding process with TruDiligence, and we'll configure the account to be exactly what you need it to be in terms of the products that are available, any packages that need to be set up, and what needs to be contained within those packages. So for training purposes, I'm just going to use a la carte. Even if you have custom packages that have been configured, you will always have an a la carte option, which takes you into the full services menu that's available to your account without any pre-selected services. So for demo purposes, I'm going to use a la carte. So from this screen, I would simply pick which package up to a la carte that I want to use, and I will just continue with this order. And it will then lead us into what is the general order screen for the actual SACS Investigator module. And so we start on this screen with basically the listing of packages and products that are available based on that first screen that we just visited. So this is showing me that I have entered the system in an a la carte package. From this screen, I still can control that. So from here, if I needed to go ahead and pick another package, once I'm actually in the system, I can certainly do so from here. And what you'll notice as I pick different packages, the screen below changes, and it has pre-selected searches that are going to be performed through the selection of this package. And I can pick any number of packages, and you will just simply see the pre-selections down below change based on whatever's built into that package. And so being able to customize those package selections is a really powerful tool in terms of being able to customize your account. So I'm going to go back to a la carte, and I'm just going to select a social security number trace for sample purposes and a statewide criminal record search. So on this screen, you'll basically make selections of the items that you want to have included and or select a pre-selected package. One of the nice things about the system is that there are help call-out boxes on every one of these controls. If I click on the help, it gives you a full live description of what that product is, what it entails, what it is, maybe what it isn't. And people really like that live help function that is built into the system on each one of these items. So right here, real quick, I'm just going to stop since we've got a full selection here of products that are available in the a la carte package and talk just a little bit about the product offerings that are available through the Investigator module. We obviously have pretty much anything that a person, I think, would envision having need for within the tenant background check arena. So we've got, your social security number traces, which are your name and address and alias search histories. We've got consent-based social security number verifications with the Social Security Administration. Should the account be configured for credit reports, which this particular demo account is not, you would have a credit report option here for tenant-based credit reports. Within verification services, and I'm not going to touch on every single one of these, but within verification services, we've got things like bank account verifications, employment verifications, income tax verifications, landlord interviews, reference interviews, license verifications. Well, obviously over here under public record searches, we've got everything from county level searches to federal level searches to statewide searches to national criminal database searches. And that is including of the National Sex Offender and even OFAC terrorist watch lists, which is the Office of Foreign Asset Control. There's a wide variety of searches, obviously, that are available to any given account, and you can simply just make use of which of those services is fitting your need for that particular member. I will circle back real quick to employment verification. Employment verification, one of the things that there is demand for is the ability to access the work number as an employment verification source for previous employer-related data. And for those that might not be familiar with that, there are a lot of employers across the country that have partnered with third-party data clearinghouses, and the work number is the biggest one of those, whereby when you need an employment verification from one of the employers that is participating in the work number, you don't get the employment verification from that employer. You go to the work number in order to get that. And so in this situation, it is integrated into our employment verification product. And so suffice it to say that if you have need for the work number as a verification product, we do have that integrated right into the SACS Investigator module, and you can access the work number as a source through that employment verification product. And we can tell you more about that individually. If you have questions about that, you can reach out to our sales or support team, and we can tell you all about that. So as you can see, there's a wide variety of products and services that are available. What I'm going to do is just go ahead and move forward. I'm going to take the employment verification off of this one for sample purposes and leave it with the social security number trace and a statewide criminal record. So when I continue to the next step, what it's going to do is it's going to take me into the next section on this screen that needs to be completed. In this case, it's always the subject information section. And so I'm going to just continue to the next step, and it will take me into that subject information bar. As I touched on earlier, one of the beautiful things about the integration is we gather all of the information from the member's entry within SACS, and we pre-fill that into the subject area of the SACS Investigator order. And so this John Smith Jr. and all of his information has been gathered already out of the SACS application, meaning that you do not need to obviously data entry all that information. We will use the member information from within SACS, and we will use that as the basis for the order. So at this point, I am just simply going to continue to the next step, and that will take me into what is the next bar on this screen, which is billing information. The billing information is an optional field. So if you have a billing reference number or some sort of a inter-authority value that would help you to have that display on the result reports and even down all the way to your billing, you can use a billing identifier value in this box. It's optional. You don't have to put anything in that box. But it's a good user feature, and I do see housing authorities that use that quite often with an internal tracking code that's beneficial to them. Let me glance real quick, see if we've got any questions. Not yet. Okay, wonderful. So billing information, when I continue to the next step, it will take me into the requester information. This is pre-filled based on the user's credential on our system. So there's typically no interaction that you need to do within the requester section unless there's a reason that you need to change the requester of this background check and or their phone number. And so this again will pre-populate already based out of the integration. I'm going to continue to the next step. And because up above, I indicated that I wanted a statewide criminal record search included in this order, it wants to know what state I want that criminal record search ran in. And so I am just going to pre-fill that with Georgia for the moment, because that's a good example. And you'll notice that on the system, the required fields in any section that require your attention are colored red. Anything that is optional or doesn't require attention is typically white. And so when I came into statewide criminal history, it's obvious as the user what field I need to fill out because it is shaded red for me. And so it's nearly impossible to get an order in the system incorrectly as long as you follow the prompts and as long as you address all of the red fields that it's presenting to you, the order will compile correctly where you can just submit it. You'll notice that my continue to the next step button here is red because it knows it's waiting for me to address the state. As soon as I come off of the state field, it turns white and the continue to next step button turns red, telling me that I have addressed everything within that section that needs to be addressed. So I'm going to continue to the next step, and that basically takes me to the last section of this page, which is the certification and authorization text that you agree to by placing this order. It just basically says that you're going to be compliant with necessary laws and that you are authorized to make this background check request. So I'm going to go ahead and check this box, and I now have a green continue to next step to verify the order button, and I am ready to go ahead and make that move. Before I actually continue to verify the order, I'm going to back up and just show you just a couple of other things that I think are helpful. On the right-hand side of this screen, we also have an order summary box. And as I progress down this order, you will also notice that that changes for me based on what it is that is required by the order. And so I just think this order summary is really important to pick out and point out, because it will also tell you that I have picked my package correctly, my subject information is complete, my billing information section is complete, the requester is complete, it's ready to do the identity and credit services, which is the social security number trace, and it's simply waiting for me to order the proper public record search, which is my statewide criminal record search. So again, as soon as I put Georgia back in that box, that all turns green and I'm ready to do the authorization. So the color coding, I think, is just really, really, really helpful. At this stage of the game, I also can scroll right back up through my sections. I'm on the same page and it has just simply progressed through that page. And let's say, for example, I needed to also run a county criminal record history on this person as well at the county level. The system is dynamic enough to understand that as soon as I place a check mark up here under county criminal history, on my order summary now, I can now see that I have an additional public record search that has been included in this order. And so then before I can agree and submit, I have to go back down to my county criminal record box, and it wants to know what county and what state it is that I want the background check conducted in. And so the page is very customizable to this particular background check, and it's very dynamic in that it will change based on the selections that it sees you making. Okay, so I think that's probably fairly self-explanatory. I'm going to come back up here, and I'm just going to take that county criminal history off. And you'll notice that obviously has updated. Every time I make a change, I need to recertify my authority to do the background check. And so now I'm going to go ahead and just continue to the next step to verify the order. So now I'm on the order confirmation screen, or not, I guess not quite the confirmation screen, but the verification screen prior to submitting the order. So this screen is really helpful. On here, I have the ability to submit this order or save it for a later time. It shows me my order total is anticipated to be $10.50. It gives you the expected ETA for these particular searches, which in this case happens to be 1 day. So it's anticipating these searches will be done tomorrow. Those ETAs are calculated and updated in real time based on, at the moment, processing data that we have available for that jurisdiction. And so we try to keep those as absolutely accurate as we possibly can based on the processing that is happening on that particular search or that particular jurisdiction at that moment in time. And so you've got a complete display before you even submit the order of what you expect the order total to be from a cost perspective. Go back up there, and what you expect the ATA to be. On this screen, it's kind of important, I think, to note that if you've ordered any searches that require a specific release form, something beyond oftentimes a general applicant release, the system will notify you of that. So we have the system programmed to understand that in Georgia, in fact, it's about the only statewide criminal record search that we process that actually requires us to present a signed release in order to get the GCIC database searched. And so the system knows that we need a release for Georgia. There are other search types that may have specific release form requirements as well, and it will notify you of that right here on this screen. So if there is a specific release form requirement, it gives you the option to upload that release right here at the time of the order. So if I click to upload, it gives you a browse box here where you can either drop and drag or click to browse here to visit your File Explorer and point to the directory where that document is housed at. So you can upload it right here at the time of order. I'm going to close this for the moment. If I don't have that available and I would rather fax that to TruDiligence or email it or provide it to us through some other means, you obviously have an upload later option that will allow you to continue this order without providing the upload at this particular moment in time. Also, a cool control here that people will use quite often is if you want to request that release form from the applicant directly, you can request it from the applicant just by placing this check mark, and it will ask you for the email address or the cell phone number of that particular applicant. And you can actually have the system send them an email or a text message or an email and a text message. And what they will receive is a link by text or by email that they will click on to digitally complete the necessary release form. And so traditionally in the housing authority environment, you've already had them complete this in a paper PDF document. And so you may not use what we call the invite system very often to invite the applicant to complete something electronically online, but just know that that system that functionality rather is available to you in the event that that is beneficial, and you can make use of that at any time you want. So for these purposes, I'm going to go ahead and just select upload later. All right, and that would allow me to continue. So at this point, I've got my subject information that I can view from here, showing what I'm getting ready to submit. I've got my order information showing what I'm getting ready to order. And then I have a granular breakdown of how the system arrived at that $10.50. It's going to charge $2.50 for the social trace that I've ordered, and it's going to charge $8 for the Georgia GCI statewide criminal record search. And so at this point, I simply need to submit my order. Okay, it is not too late to go back. If you get here and you see this information and you're like, darn, I meant to do something else on this person, that's okay. You don't have to start over. You just simply click on the go back button, and it takes me right back to the order where I was compiling this in the first place, and I can make changes. I can add to this, I can remove from it. You've not submitted anything yet, and so you have complete control over what's been ordered. I could change the package, I could change the services, I can do anything I want at this point, okay? So I am going to go ahead and take off that statewide Georgia criminal record search from this order, just for simplicity purposes, and I'm going to submit this just as a social security number trace. While we're here, I want to talk about this section now just a little bit. So the TruScreen auto assign services is technology that we find a lot of our users make use of. And what this does is, if you know that you want to pull the residence history, the social trace as we call it, to give you name and address history, and you know that you want to assign county level searches or federal level searches or statewide searches against all of the address history that was developed, and you want to do that for a certain period of time automatically, this single control will do that for you. And so by my placing a check mark in this particular box, This is going to run a TruScreen County Criminal Auto Assign for 7 years. So this is, as soon as I submit, this is going to order a social security number trace in the background. It's going to read that social trace. It's going to extract all of the address history off of that social trace, and it's going to automatically assign county criminal record searches against all of that address history for a 7-year period. We have it available as 1-year lookups, 7-year lookups, and 10-year lookups by default in the system. If you need another value other than that, and you want to have the TruScreen capabilities, then you can communicate that to us. If you want to use a 5-year period, we can program a 5-year period. If you want a 3-year period, we can program a 3-year period. So again, another level of customization and automation that I think is really beneficial in the ordering process. By making use of that single control, I don't have to tell it counties, I don't have to tell it statewide, I don't have to tell it federal districts. It'll get all that information from the social security number trace automatically. Okay. See if we have any questions. What would the cost of the national search be? I see is our first question. So the national search here, as we have available, I will clarify that because there were some follow-up questions to that after the last webinar. So we're not doing FBI fingerprint-based NCIC lookups, as I know some housing authorities are actually connected to. They have a law enforcement connection within their jurisdiction that performs fingerprint-based NCIC searches for them. TruDiligence is not an FBI partner or FBI channeler, so we actually can't replace that need should, as an authority, you have that kind of access through local law enforcement. What we're conducting here is basically county level, statewide level, and federal level, and national criminal database searches. And that national criminal database that the question is relative to is a independent compilation of county, statewide, and federal records across the country. And so there are some advantages to that national criminal database, obviously. It has very broad coverage, right? We've got records in it from coast to coast. There are some drawbacks to it. Not every jurisdiction allows their data to be included in an external national system. And so currently it's growing, but currently it covers about 75% of the country. And so there's about 25% of the country that are in various pockets spread throughout the country where judges have ruled that they do not want their data included in an external system of which they have no control. And so it just simply does not have coverages in those areas. And so I think that's a good question. The cost on that, I believe, at the SACS price point is $8.50 per name that we put through the National Criminal Database to answer that question. And also at the end of the presentation, Grant will present a slide that has a website address and some additional contact information on it. So if you have, any of you have specific product questions beyond this or pricing questions, we'll give you a means of contact to get in touch with us also towards the end, but I'll just address that while we're here, that I believe the cost on those is $8.50 on that National Criminal Database. The one below it actually includes the National Criminal, the National Sex Offender Registry, and all of the OFAC Homeland Security databases. And that's probably actually the more popular option because everybody likes to get that National Sex Offender included along with the National Criminal Database. We also have one more I'll point out while we're here, not to kill us on time. It looks like we're doing fine. National Criminal History plus aliases. I will say that a lot of the current housing authority users make use of this product. This particular product, since I'm here, whoops, I lost that screen. Come back here. This particular product actually starts the National Criminal Database search by running the Social Security number trace. And that social trace, as we know, develops name and address history for this particular subject. We then extract up to 9 names or aliases off of that name and address history and rerun every one of those names individually through the National Criminal Database for one flat cost that I believe is $15 in order to do that national criminal plus aliases. It's a wonderful price point to get up to 9 names put through the national criminal database for one flat rate. Okay, so I'll just mention that here as well, since there was a question about the national criminal database. Good question. One more question here. What does the IRS income tax return search cover? Good question. So the IRS income tax return search is this one right here. This requires a special form that is called a 4506T is what it's called. And what it is a request for transcripts directly out of the Internal Revenue Service of that applicant's tax records and W-2 filings of their wage and income reports. And so with the applicant executing the 4506 transcript authorization form, we can submit that to the IRS directly, electronically. It takes them about 2 days to compile that, typically, although through tax season, obviously, they can take a little longer. The ones we've requested in the last 90 days are taking slightly longer than that, but they quote 2 days on it, and it will return to us transcripts of or copies, depending on what we request, of their 1040 or tax documents and the supporting W-2s that have been filed with that. And so I see some tenant screeners that run that. It's an employment. It's a really hot item in the employment screening space as well, where people are attempting to more officially validate salary and wage information, and they want to see the official W-2s to do so. That is how we would pull that, is through the tax return verification service. Thank you for the question. Scroll and make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, I think we're good. All right, so let's go ahead and proceed through submitting this demo search along with the Social Security number trace. So again, I have gone back to this screen and everything is still pre-filled with any changes. I always have to recertify my authorization. I'm going to continue to the next step. I'm back to my confirmation screen, and again, I got there through the go back control. I can do that at any time up until this stage of the order. My order number is now, order total rather, is now $2.50 with an ETA of today. The social traces turn around instantly, and so they will be done very quickly. So assuming I've got the order to this point and I've got it compiled the way I want, all I have to do is submit this order. So by clicking on Submit Now, it is going to submit this order into the system, and it's going to give me a confirmation screen. And so it's going to say, thank you, your request has been received, and it's going to give you an order number. That screen goes by relatively quickly in this environment, but it also gives you the ability on that screen to upload and archive any necessary release forms that you would like to archive with the system. You can use our system. We know about the document management control within SACS, and so in this environment, you may never use that control. But in the event that you have documents that you want to archive with this background check order, you are certainly welcome to make use of that function to do so. So now let's chat for just a minute about what's going on in the background. So that order has been received by our system. It's been acknowledged by our system, and it is recognizing everything that was ordered on that particular file, and it is parsing that out and assigning it for research. Searches, generally speaking, can complete anywhere from instant, if it's a database type search, up to a few business days if it's a county level criminal record search that does not have any electronic control access in that particular county, and we're having to do that through some sort of manual research means. And so when somebody asks about turnaround time, typically we quote anywhere from instant to 3 business days, right? There are always variances to that, but those are our averages, right? And so now as soon as this report gets completed, the beauty of the integration, again, is that it publishes back to the SACS software automatically And SACS is programmed to send you an email notification as soon as that report is published and is ready to you. I know an email seems like a pretty simple thing, but we've had really wonderful feedback from current users that just love the fact that they do not have to continue babysitting the system to determine what's done and what's not done. There is no babysitting. It is going to notify you as soon as that report is completed and accepted by the SACS application. And then back at this screen, stay here for just a sec, Grant. Back here at this screen, what we have is now an ongoing list of searches that have been run on this person. And so it's beautiful that it gives you that archived access to searches that were run previously, should you need those for archive purposes, as easily as searches that were just conducted, right? And so it maintains that log of processing that you have done on this particular person. That particular search that we just requested today on the 24th have a status of pending. Grant, I won't have you, you don't have to refresh the screen. We can pull the one from the 22nd. From here, you basically pick which report you want to view, and it displays the report right off of the TruDiligence server. This report is not stored in SACS. It's not archived in SACS. It is archived in an encrypted form on the TruDiligence server. And so when you make that call from SACS using that order number link, it makes a call to our server and it produces a report in real time on the fly for that particular background check. And what Grant has done here is just clicked on that report link, and it's showing you an example of what a TruDiligence report looks like. And so basically the report starts with a summary page, and it shows you the subject information that was used as the basis for the order. And it also shows you a summary of the individual searches that were ordered and what their status is. In this particular example, we ran a trace on the Social Security number, and that status gives you a green status that it is complete and that it was clear. If there were additional search types that were ordered in this particular background check, statewide criminals, national criminals, eviction searches, landlord interviews, you're going to see separate line entries on the summary page showing you what has been completed and what the status of those are. If there's any potentially derogatory information that was found while we were conducting that search or that research or that interview or whatever it was, it will show that to you here with a red status that also will say that it's complete, but it will say information found instead of clear. And that just will tell you that there is potentially derogatory information that has been included in the report. We found something, and this was something other than just a straight up clear search. And then you can obviously evaluate that and make your determination on how you're going to move forward at that point. So the summary page, we think the report's very user-friendly. It's got color coding on it to help you. Beyond the summary page, when we scroll down, thank you for driving, Grant. I can talk. We've got the individual details for that search. This particular test social that is in here did not produce any address history because this person actually does have a valid Social Security number, which was issued in Pennsylvania, but that Social Security number was also found in the Social Security Administration's death master file. And so this person is actually deceased, and so there's no address history for them. Obviously, should there have been address history or additional searches available or ordered on this, you would just see the details for each of those as you scrolled through the report. And then we also produce with every single report a copy of the federally required summary of the applicant's rights under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. That's a 4-page document that appends onto the bottom of every single report. That is necessary if a person is ever going to provide copies of the background check result to the applicant. Every copy that goes out to the applicant needs to have the summary of rights attached with it under federal law, and so we just append that to every single report that comes back. So that's an example of what a report looks like, and I believe how user-friendly it is, how the color coding helps, how it lays out in summary form in addition to detail form. Yeah, let's go ahead and close that for a minute. And again, here is one more view of the member screen on the background checks tab, showing you how you access those completed reports and how you can track the statuses. Also, again, where your request background check control displays that allows you to interface with the SACS Investigator. And so let me look really quick and see on our chat if we have any additional questions. Don't be afraid to ask any questions. We're actually a little bit ahead of time. And I'll keep an eye on that for just a few minutes, but that is really just an overview of what the SACS Investigator looks like, who TruDiligence is, what the controls from within the SACS application look like, and what the integration we believe can do to help you streamline and in some ways even automate your processes based on the tools that TruDiligence has available. So I will say my thank you for joining us today at this point. And if you have any questions, Grant is going to display to you here in just a moment, a contact screen, and that has contact information for both TruDiligence and SACS software. On there is a website link that you could pencil down if you were interested. That will take you to a web page that has an abundance of information about the integration and the products and the pricing with availability and turnaround times and release form requirements. And we have all of that laid out on a user-friendly web page that's available at that link on the TruDiligence website. So I will say thank you from my side for joining us today for the webinar, and we hope that we can be of service to you in the future with regards to your background check needs. And I will turn it back over to Grant.
Great. And I don't know what, Jerry, can you check to see if we had one more question that might have popped up?
Let me see. We do have, thank you. We do have, all right. That is a wonderful question, and I love that question. So yes, the question is, just for those that maybe don't have the chat thread visible, it says, how do I run a background check we are interested in hiring? So as I mentioned previously, TruDiligence does do both tenant screening background checks and employment screening background checks. So we can also be a resource to you for your internal hires from an employment perspective. I will say that traditionally, those are not run through SACS, likely because your employee does not have a member entry type screen within the SACS application that's integrated to TruDiligence. And so the same credentials that you get that you will program into the SACS application to run your tenant background checks, that same credential also is used to log in directly to the TruDiligence online web interface. And we can teach you how to do that. And once logged in through the TruDiligence web portal, you'll get to the exact same process as I just showed you. It just simply would be an order that you would compile manually, as it won't draw the information out of SACS. You'll use your background check authorization and your job application as the basis for that data, and you'll just simply compile an order, and we can certainly accommodate those employment-based background check needs as well directly through the TruDiligence website using the same credential.
And I can speak from personal experience on that. We use that same service for our employees that we hire. We go to the TruDiligence site and fill in the information to perform the background checks, and those work very well. It's very easy. It's a very easy process.
Yep, you'll see the exact same screens. You just get to them from our website rather than through the SACS application, but it's the exact same products and services that are available. One more question, which credit bureau do we use? We actually are integrated to TransUnion is the bureau that we use for credit bureau services. They provide a lot of the social trace information. They are a contributor to the name and address history and alias history that we pull, and they are also the source that we use for credit bureau services. So it is TransUnion is who we use for that. And thank you for that question. See if anything else pops up. Okay. Well, again, thank you for joining us today. Contact information on the screen. We'd love to hear from you and answer any additional questions you may think of beyond today's webinar. And Grant, I'll turn it to you again.
Great. I want to thank you all again for taking the time to join this webinar. Hopefully you've learned something if you're currently using the product. And if you're not using it, we would hope you would give this an opportunity. And if we can be of any help, give us a call, give Jerry a call or an email, and look forward to working with you in the future. Hope you all have a great weekend. Stay safe. Take care.
Thank you.